Well, hello. How's it going out there in radio world? This is your boy, Trevor Hauer, here with another episode of the Hauer Hour. I am quite tired. Let's just say that. It's 7:02 a.m. We're recording this thing. And just to get your sports fix real quick, I don't know if you guys were listening beforehand to Alex and Yusel, but I popped in towards the end. They are troopers. You want to know why? Because they've been here pretty much all night long, covering all cancellations that have been going on. And so I don't know. They went through every single show, and you guys can correct me if you guys know the schedule of Radiothon, but I don't think there's been one sports talk show, so that's why I'm here talking to you guys. I set my alarm at 6:05. I woke up less than an hour ago, so you got to forgive me if anything happens. I'm just kidding. But yeah, if you want your sports fix, you can listen right here for Radiothon 88.9 The Voice, WCVF, or WDVL 89.5 The Inferno, where you get all your sports fix right here from your guy, Trevor Hauer. Where do you start? There's a lot of stuff going on. Local stuff. I mean, I guess we can start with the most underrated team in professional sports, which is the Buffalo Bandits lacrosse team. All honest opinion, okay, why does this team not get enough credit for what they do? They have 4 championship banners in the KeyBank Center hanging up in the rafters right now, and it seems like they just get, the shaft of everything, right? The Sabres get all the attendance. The Buffalo Bills get all the radio time. They get all the sports attention because it's the NFL. What about the Buffalo Bandits? I mean, we could talk about them a little bit, but they host their playoff game. Yes, I'm talking about a Buffalo team not named the Bills making the playoffs. They have their first playoff game tonight at the KeyBank Center, live at 7:30, where the Bandits, believe it or not, are the number 1 team in the National Lacrosse League right now. Facing against a team with a very unique kind of name, the Albany Firewolves. That's going to be a crazy game. But 7:30 tonight, it's one game. You win, you move on, you lose. Sorry, your season's over, and you go home. That's just kind of how it is. But the Albany Firewolves come to town, formerly known as the New England Black Wolves. I think that's just I don't know what a firewolf is. You guys can tell me out there. But, yeah, this is a Bandits team that went 14-4 on the season in 18-game season, and clinching the number 1 spot in the East after a big 18-9 victory over the Georgia Swarm in Week 21. But I honestly think if I'm watching this game as a Buffalo Bandits fan, of course you're going to get some bias in here because I am a diehard Buffalo Bandits fanatic. I rock the orange and black when I go down to the KeyBank Center. Fun fact, my brother and I were actually on ESPN Plus celebrating a goal that Chris Kluche scored. The camera panned over to us and we were on ESPN Plus. No big deal, but I don't mean to flex on anybody out there that's listening, but you know what? I just don't see the Bandits losing this game. I do not see the Buffalo Bandits losing this game. If they lose this game, something has to go catastrophically wrong. Something like of epic proportions. Like, we're talking like 7.2 on the Richter scale. Something has to go wrong. There has to be some sort of natural disaster because the Albany Firewolves played the Bandits twice this year already, and they lost both games. This is a playoff game with everything on the line. If the Bandits win this game, they clinch a spot in the Final Four. They do not lose this game. And if they do, I'll be upset because I think this is the best roster they've had since their last championship run in 2019. I think this is one that could legitimately win the championship for the first time since 2008. Like I said before, this team is a 4-time champion, Buffalo Bandits. They came into the league in 1992. They won in 1992. They swept the entire season in 1993, pulled the 1972 Dolphins, and went undefeated in 1993, swept the entire playoffs, didn't lose a single game. So in their first 2 years of existence as an expansion team, they won the championship. And then the last time they won after that was 1996, again with Johnny Tavares, who's their head coach right now, who has won a championship 4 times in his professional career, not once as a head coach. That's definitely something that he wants to do. And then the last time they won was 2008. 4-time champs, 92, 93, 96, and 2008. I do not want this Buffalo Bandits team to be looked at like a Dallas Cowboys team. That is something that I don't want. And for all you Bandit fans out there, I know that's not what you want. A team that is known for having a pretty good squad, but the last time they won a title was like 20 years ago. That is the Dallas Cowboys to a T. And if I'm offending any Dallas Cowboys fans, sorry, not sorry, because that is the absolute truth. But they just got to take it game by game. Last weekend, the Buffalo Bandits blew a 5-1 lead at home against their arch rivals in the Toronto Rock. And do you know what Toronto did last night against Halifax? In overtime, they won. They won it in OT. Halifax almost completed the upset of the century in the quarterfinals. But Toronto, being the better team, going into overtime on a breakaway, on a fast break, went in and scored the goal and turned the lights out. That was the game. Tonight, if the Bandits win, they will host Toronto next week. If they lose, Albany will travel to Toronto next week to play in the semifinal game. So if you guys don't know how this playoff is formatted in National Lacrosse League, it basically looks like this. So you have, what is it? You have 3 teams, or you have 4 teams from the East, 4 teams from the West, plus 1 wild card team, which could either be from the East or the West. In this case, we're focusing on the East right now. It was the Toronto Rock versus the Halifax Thunderbirds last night. And then tonight, it's going to be the Buffalo Bandits hosting the Albany Firewolves. The winner of those games advanced to the semifinals, which is also just a 1-game thing. You win, you advance, you lose, you go home. And then if you win the semifinal game, you advance to the championship round, where it's best 2 out of 3 between an Eastern Conference team and a Western Conference team. In this case, however, the wild card rule that was put in place by the National Lacrosse League in the offseason, an Eastern Conference team can technically face against another Eastern Conference team. The Philadelphia Wings clinched their spot as the wild card team. So they can face against a Western Conference team in the championship if they get there, or they can face against an Eastern Conference championship, which I think is kind of weird. But I don't think Philadelphia is going to be doing anything if they're already eliminated. I could be dead wrong. It's early. I apologize, guys. But for all I know, they could be eliminated, and what I'm saying right now is completely irrelevant. When you're looking at this Bandits team, though, there are a couple players that stick out and that really just make me think there is no chance in hell that the Albany Firewolves will come in and beat this Buffalo Bandits squad. I'll name a few right now. How about number 22, Josh Byrne? Josh Byrne, who is a goal scorer, he's a playmaker, he's a sniper. Dane Smith, breaking the National Lacrosse League record for most assists in a season. That's why they call him the Great Dane. The Great Dane Gang will be in full effect tonight. I guarantee you that. Down in the bowl seats in the KeyBank Center. Look at a player like Tahoka Nanticoke, who's going to be Rookie of the Year out of what is it, Seneca Nations, or out of Ontario for the Native American squad. He has to be Rookie of the Year. He's a goal scorer. He's a playmaker, and if you get him some exposure in this playoffs and he wins the championship in his rookie year, he's only going to get better. So this is a very important year for him. And obviously, look at number 95, Chase Frazier. Chase Frazier, in my honest opinion, is one of the best to do it. He's one of those players that you describe in sports as you love him if he's on your team, but you hate his guts if he's facing against you. That is the epitome of Chase Frazier right there. But who does Albany have? They have Joey Rezateris, former Buffalo Bandit, that really tears us up a lot. They have solid goaltending. They have Ryan Benesh, another former Buffalo Bandits player that scores a lot on us. And the only reason why I'm a little nervous about this game, I still have full confidence in the Buffalo Bandits, by the way, but the only way that I'd be concerned about this game, if I'm a Buffalo Bandits fan, is you look at the two games that they faced against the Albany Firewolves this year, and you think, these games were a little close for comfort. Granted, the one in Buffalo was the Bandits won by 4 or 5 goals, but the one in Albany, the Bandits had to take it to overtime, win a clutch faceoff, call timeout, and score with Kyle Buchanan in OT, who's also a very underrated player, by the way. He's got speed. He can score a lot of goals. Kyle Buchanan, or as we call him, Bucky around here, he's great. But those games, for the most part, outside of the fourth quarter, even in the KeyBank Center game where they faced against each other in Buffalo in the regular season, those games were close. And do you want to know why? Because Albany is a good team. Now, I have all the confidence in the world, but it's going to be tough because you see how the Buffalo Bandits played the Toronto Rock in the second half last week, and that was just embarrassing. 5-1 at halftime, and the Bandits lose the game 10-7. They held this Toronto team that has a lot of great goal scorers, great goaltending, to 1 goal through 30 minutes of play. And then the second half rolls around, and they outscore the Buffalo Bandits 9-2 to win the game. So it's tough. It's going to be tough, but I think this Buffalo Bandits team can handle it. Their leader in the suit and tie behind the bench is probably the best indoor lacrosse player to ever live on the face of this planet, and that is John Tavares. So not only was he a great player, but he's also a fantastic coach. Very underrated, I think. I think his nephew, who plays with the Toronto Maple Leafs, John Tavares, gets way more attention than he does, which is criminal because John Tavares, the nephew, is a snake to the New York Islanders organization in the NHL. John Tavares, the man John Tavares, is the greatest indoor lacrosse player of all time. Never gets enough attention. But I think he's going to get the troops going. You saw how they faced against the Rock last week and say, maybe they're not so ready, but then you got to remember how they faced against the Georgia Swarm the week before that, beating them 18-9, doubling the score on them on the road to clinch the number 1 spot in the East. This is what that Buffalo Bandits team can do. It's just about being consistent. And they remember what it felt like to lose in the championship in 2019. They remember all those feelings. They remember losing in 16. Not good. They know that the last time they won the championship was 2008. Dane Smith, he's won a title with the PLL, Premier League Lacrosse Chaos, the outdoor league, knows what that feels like to win a ring, but he does not know what it feels like to win a ring for indoor lacrosse. So that's all new to him. They all have something to play for, and it's about time this Buffalo Bandits team turns into a dynasty because with this team that they have going on right now, and their solid draft picks and their great defense and Matt Vince going into the final years of his career, this team has the ability to become a mini dynasty, almost like a Rochester Nighthawks type of dynasty where it's just domination for 3 or 4 years, and then they're still pretty good, but they just kind of drop off a little bit. We got to get more banners up there for Chris Swenson, the in-arena announcer who is awesome on the mic every single night in Banditland. You got to win another title for him. No doubt about it. So the Bandits hosting the Albany Firewolves tonight. And moving on to a little bit of baseball. Once again, you're listening to Radiothon. You're listening to the Hauer Hour on 88.9 The Voice, WCVF, and WDVL 89.5 The Inferno. Streaming on the Radio Line app as well. We got about a little less than 5 hours of this thing, but of Radiothon to go. And I don't know about you guys if you're listening to this right now, but be sure to tune in around noon because I'm going to crush the Big Cheeseburger Challenge. I will destroy it. It's like, I already said with Yasel and Alex, my time prediction, they said, what do you think the time is going to be for you to finish it? I'm thinking like 12 and a half minutes. I don't know, over, under, probably just a little bit under. I'm thinking, maybe 12 and a half to 11 minutes. I think I'm going to crush it, but because I'm not going to eat anything until then. And it's just going to be, I don't know, I think it's going to be a mess, but I don't know. It's going to be interesting. This is all foreign to me, so never actually attempted to eat one of those before, but it's going to be nice. It's going to be a great experience. It's like a man versus food type of thing. So I'm good with that. Let's move on to a little bit of baseball. So baseball, no pun intended, but the season's already off to full swing. But you guys know, if you guys are religious listeners of this show, you are completely aware that my favorite baseball team is the most hated, the team that gets the most scrutiny, the team that just, for whatever reason, everybody just hates this team. Do you know why? I really don't know why, but I root for the Houston Astros baseball team. And they had a very, very, very slow start to the season. And I think a lot of that was because of the injuries on the forefront of their starting pitching, also the injuries of their closing pitching, and some of their key guys going out with injuries, like the leadoff hitter, Jose Altuve, basically pulling a muscle in his hamstring against the Angels in literally the first home game of the season. But yeah, that's a guy I really want to talk about. So Jose Altuve, happy belated birthday to this king, okay? Jose Altuve is a king. I don't care what anybody out there says. Oh my God, he was wearing a wire. Don't rip my shirt off. I'm wearing a piece on. I'm wearing a wire. If you believe in that buzzer theory, I'm sorry, but you're an idiot. I don't respect you. And you're probably a New York Yankees fan that's very, very salty about the fact that they haven't been to the World Series since 2009, and yours truly, the Houston Astros, have been there in 2017, 19, and 21. So if you're hating, I'm sorry, but I'm also not sorry at the same time, because I absolutely despise the New York Yankees with a passion. But Jose Altuve, he owns your city. He owns your crappy franchise. 5'6", 165. And this dude dominates the New York Yankees. It's the best thing in the world. He's 5'6", but he bats like he's 6'6". And that's what you love to see right there. He turned 32 years old yesterday on a day where the Astros extend their winning streak to 5 games in a row. On this homestand, they swept the Seattle Mariners 3-0. And right now they're in the middle of a 4-game series with the Detroit Tigers, where they are 2-0 against them, winning both of those games 3-2. And I think overall, just the presence of Jose Altuve being there, just him being in the clubhouse, him just batting, his numbers aren't as flashy as they should be right now, because he's missed a lot of games. He's got 2 home runs and 6 RBIs on the season. But in game 1 against the Detroit Tigers, he hit a leadoff home run. And that and Jeremy Pena, I'll talk about Jeremy Pena in a little bit, but Altuve and Pena's solo shots were the only action that we saw in that game until the 9th inning. And we'll get into this game in a little bit, but I just think Jose Altuve being in the clubhouse, being in the locker room, and hitting in the leadoff spot just changes the mentality of the game. Just him being there alone is enough motivation for the Astros to go out and win. They're 16-11 right now. They started off 7-9. I think that's pretty impressive. Around this time last year, I believe the Astros were 15-13, and they went to the World Series. Right now, they're 16-11, and I think right now it's guns a-blazing, full speed ahead, and it's going to be led by the most hated, who, by the way, if you actually read the report, Altuve did not take part in that cheating scandal. I don't know how many times I have to tell you guys this over these airways. He did not hit the trash can. He did not have a buzzer on. And if you believe that, sorry, not sorry, but stupid alert, okay? Like the red light's going off. Stupid, 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 stupid. That's what you are if you believe in the Jose Altuve cheating thing. And I was wearing my Altuve jersey yesterday for Fred Fest over on Canada Way and all around, and I saw all the cute little jokes like the, don't rip my shirt off and the cheater stuff. Ignorant, to say the least, but they were intoxicated at the same time, so you got to take that into account. But you know what? I just think this team, despite losing George Springer, the all-star center fielder, in January of 2021. Losing him to the Toronto Blue Jays, them breaking the bank for this dude until he turns 38? They're paying him millions of dollars until he turns 38 years old, which is a very gutsy move. But George Springer is a great player. Despite losing him, despite losing the number one shortstop in this team's history, I think at least, in Carlos Correa, who wore number one to Minnesota of all teams, despite losing those players, despite losing Lance McCullers Jr. until June, despite losing what should be our number one center fielder in Jake Myers until June, despite all of those things, losing Dallas Keuchel to free agency, losing Garrett Cole to free agency, this Houston Astros team finds its way. And I don't know if that's because of the leadership from Mr. 2003 managerial wins in Dusty Baker. I'm not sure if it's because of him, if it's just because of the leadership, because of the leaders in the locker room, because of the experienced vets like Justin Verlander coming back and Jose Altuve being there and Michael Brantley being there. I'm not sure. But I'll tell you one thing. If Yordan Alvarez is not in MVP conversations, we need to, stop talking to me. If Kyle Tucker is not in the conversation for MVP candidate in the American League, stop talking to me, because that is just complete BS. If you look at their numbers, Kyle Tucker and Yordan Alvarez, Tucker had a horrible start, but that's normal for him in April. It just takes him a little while, to get going. And this dude was hitting bombs to center field, to the third baseman, and he just would not catch a break. He was the most unlucky hitter in the league in April, but he's finding his way. Alvarez, all this guy does is hit home runs and extra base hits. That's all this guy does. Whenever I'm following the game on my phone or if I'm watching it on TV and I see Yordan Alvarez is in the on-deck circle, I'm glued to the screen. I have to see the outcome of the at-bat. I have to see what he does. If he hits another home run, that's great. But I'm trying to find his exact numbers. But yet, Yordan Alvarez, everyone wants to talk about, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. He gets all the attention, as he should, because Vladimir Guerrero Jr. was a Buffalo Bison's legend. He's a great player. But we're seeing Yelich. We're seeing Vladimir Guerrero Jr. We're seeing all these names. Nobody is talking about Yordan Alvarez and Kyle Tucker, and that is absolutely criminal. And we're still talking about Mike Trout like he's the best thing since sliced bread. I don't care if you guys slander me over these airwaves right now. I'm just going to flat out say Mike Trout is the most overrated player in baseball right now. The most overrated. This dude can't play 100 games in a season because he gets injured all the time, and you're saying he's the best player. He's great. This dude is the only player I know that can check swing a pitch, put it in play, and hit a triple. I mean, that's fantastic. And he hits for power, and he can crank it to dead center field in any ballpark. But you know what? So can Yordan. So can Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And guess what? They can stay healthy. I'm obviously excluding the 2020 season where Alvarez had to have knee surgery, but who really talks about the 2020 season anyway? Dodger fans, because they won the Mickey Mouse 60-game title? Whatever, dude. But nobody's talking about those two. Yordan Alvarez right now has 21 hits on the season, 15 runs. He's crossed the plate 15 times. He's hit 2 doubles and 8 home runs, 15 RBIs. He's crossed the plate 15 times. He's also batted in 15 players to cross home plate. And 8 freaking home runs. Kyle Tucker with an extremely slow start. Look at these numbers. 4 home runs, 16 RBIs, 24 hits. Say what you want, but I think Kyle Tucker's back. And when he's on his A game, let me tell you, the entire organization is on their A game. You want to talk about impressive pitching. In the Seattle series, the pitching, the starters, the relievers, and the closers for the Houston Astros. And by the way, we were missing Ryan Presley, our main closer, for that entire series. And then some. I mean, he missed the Toronto trip. He missed the series before that and whatever. But, yeah, he missed the Arlington, Texas road trip too. We're missing those guys. But the Houston Astros held the Seattle Mariners, who apparently are known as America's team. Give me a break. These guys suck. We all know that they suck. Give up on the Seattle Mariners. But they held the Mariners to 2 runs in 27 innings played at Minute Maid Park. An injured starting rotation, an injured closing rotation, and a banged up relief pitching or a banged up bullpen. And they held them to 2 runs. And that was led by, obviously, by Jake Odorizzi. I think he gets a lot of grief for good reason. I mean, the game against the Angels, where he gave up 6 earned runs in the first inning at home, getting booed off the field. This dude, walked in two runs with the bases loaded with nobody out and was booed off the mound, and he basically said, I'm done playing like garbage. And then the last 2 starts he's had, he's gotten the win in both those games. He's 2-2 on the season. Justin Verlander, if you were to tell me last year, Justin Verlander, a guy that was injured, recovering from Tommy John surgery from the 2020 season, who didn't even make an appearance at Minute Maid Park in the dugout or whatever. He was just posting pictures of him and his wife at their house. Seemed like he wasn't posting anything about the Astros. It was all about him. If you were to tell me that he was going to be one of the best starters in the rotation this year, I thought for sure he was going to be gone after the World Series. I thought he was going to be gone. He's 3-1 on the year and has an ERA of a 1.65. This dude's coming off of Tommy John surgery. Nobody in MLB history, no starting pitcher at that age, has ever returned to form after Tommy John surgery. Most MLB pitchers, especially starters at that age, if they had to get Tommy John surgery at 36, 37, 38, they call it quits and they retire. Not this fella. Not Justin Verlander. I can tell you that right now. Hector Neris, one of the most underrated relief pitchers in the league. I honestly think Ryan Presley is a bit cooked. If that's a slang term for he's losing it a little bit, especially in the closing spot. I mean, his velocity on his fastball used to be 96, 97, 98 miles per hour. He's maxing out at 94, and he's given up home runs to Jeimer Candelario in the top of the 9th to tie the game. Ryan Presley has always been a setup man outside of last year, and they gave this man an extension to be the closer, so I guess they're going to force him into that role. But it's nice to know that they have other closers that can get the job done. Hector Neris is definitely one of those guys. And we're looking at an ERA of a sub-2. And guys like the guys that got the save yesterday. Let me see. It just logged me out on my screen here. Rafael Montero, 31 years old. This dude was a terrible relief pitcher last year, getting called up from AAA. So we were all kind of like, what's going to happen going into this year? He's looking good. Jose Urquidy, despite having an ERA of a 6 point something, anything over a 5 is not very good for a starting pitcher, but Jose Urquidy's been pretty good. He completely shut out the Detroit Tigers, played 6 innings against Detroit 2 nights ago, gave up 0 runs, but gave up 5 hits. Doesn't matter because nobody crossed the plate until the top of the 9th inning. And then, you guys have, you have Luis Garcia, a guy that they called up from Single A in the 2020 season. I don't understand the logic behind this. He was called up from Single A last year, or 2020. You go from Single A, you completely skip Double A and Triple A, come up to the big leagues, and the fact that he's looking like this as a starter, it just doesn't make any sense to me. How are you this good as a starter? Am I the only one that thinks that? How are you this good as a starter? Like, you didn't have any time in AA, no time in AAA. You're up here in the big leagues and you're pitching like that? And don't even get me started on what people think about his windup. Like the little rockabye baby, the Luis Garcia cha-cha. Don't even get me started on the fact that people are offended by a windup. But nobody's talking about Jordan Romano literally squatting before he pitches, the closer for the Blue Jays. But it's the Astros, so we're going to find every single excuse to hate on them. Shut up. Shut up. Right, with that said, we're about halfway through this show. I don't really remember off the top of my head who's on at 8 a.m., but you're listening to Radiothon, a 24-hour news or 24-hour radio session run by us here at FRS, here at Fredonia Radio Systems. We've been at this thing since noon yesterday for High Noon Friday, and we're going until noon today. Well, we're extending through noon with our Big Cheeseburger Challenge, but you're listening to this on WCVF 88.9 The Voice. You're listening on 89.5 WDVL The Inferno, or you're listening on the Radio Line app. Listening to me talk some sports live. Trevor Hauer here with the Hauer Hour podcast. Where was I before? Talking about the rotation of the Houston Astros and the fact that they're 16-11 and making all the haters cry? Yeah. A lot of that can be credited to guys like Valdez, Garcia, Javier, who's finally in the rotation, Christian Javier. We love seeing that. Mr. Upton himself, Justin Verlander, Ryan Presley, Jake Odorizzi, Hector Neris, Parker Mashinsky, Seth Martinez, Ronel Blanco, Brian Abreu, who's maxing out his fastball at 101, while last year he was maxing out at around 97? I don't know what he's doing, but, keep it up. Astros play today. That is May 8th, where Jake Odorizzi is on. Nope, May 7th. I'm forgetting. Sorry, guys. It's early. I apologize in the beginning of the show. If I mess up anything, I apologize. But I swear to you right now, I'm awake and I know what I'm talking about. May 7th, 2022. Eduardo Rodriguez for Detroit is on the bump, facing against Framber Valdez, who pitches for a lot of contact. So if you were taking the money line on this one, I believe the over-under is 8.5. I would bet the over because both pitchers, Eduardo Rodriguez with Detroit and Framber Valdez with the Houston Astros, they both pitch for contact. So we might be seeing a lot of RBIs. Maybe not a lot that leaves the ballpark down in Minute Maid Park in Houston, but we might be seeing a lot of runs batted in between these two teams. If I had to give a prediction right now, Astros are on a 5-game winning streak. They're going to extend it to 6, and they're going to go 17-11. They will win this game 6-4. I'm going to say 10 total runs scored. Astros win by 2. That's what I have. And for the rotation tomorrow, we don't know who's pitching for Detroit, but Jake Odorizzi is on the bump for the Houston Astros. And then they travel to Minnesota on May 10th to face against Mr. Carlos Correa, who decided to... I still love the guy. I love Carlos Correa, but I am sick and tired of seeing Scott Boras post pictures of Correa in a Minnesota Twins jersey and captioning it C4. No, bro, he's CC1 all day, every day, and he's playing in some bum organization in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, where they don't even have a roof on their stadium. This is a guy that might get traded at the deadline, or he's going to use his opt-out after 1 year and sign a massive contract with a higher prestige squad like the Yankees or the Mets or the Tigers even, who offered him a 10-year deal and he turned it down. A 10-year, $256 million deal. Carlos Correa turns it down and signs a 3-year, $105 million deal with 2 opt-outs, one after this year, one after next year, with the Minnesota Twins, an organization who in their last 18 postseason games have been 0-18. And then he's going to sit up at that press conference and say, I believe this is a championship squad. Bull. Correa, you took the money and run. You took the money and you ran. We're going to call you the Steve Miller Band, bro. You took the money and you ran. He thanked Houston for all the time there, which is great. He still loves all the guys here. But I've moved on from Carlos Correa. I wanted them to re-sign him so bad about, a month and a half, 2 months ago. Now I couldn't give two you-know-what's less because Jeremy Pena in the Astros shortstop spot has hit 6 home runs this year and driven in 16 RBIs. What has Carlos Correa done? He's hit 2 home runs, one of them against the poverty Baltimore Orioles. And the first game that he hit into the upper deck at Minnesota or in Minneapolis, I don't even remember who they were facing against, but team was not very good. Carlos Correa has a WAR of a 0.6. Jeremy Pena has a WAR of a 1.8. I'm not saying that Jeremy Pena is going to be a Carlos Correa. That would just be insanity to compare the two. One all-star in Correa, a platinum glove champion in 2021, a Silver Slugger Award winner, the 2017 world champion Carlos Correa. To compare him to a rookie that's just getting his stuff going in the big leagues is ridiculous, and I'm not comparing that at all. But, I mean, the dude's on pace to hit 25 home runs in his rookie season. How many did Carlos Correa hit in 2015 in his rookie season? I don't even think the dude hit 20. The dude did not hit 20. And Pena hasn't hit 20, obviously, but he's on pace to hit 25 or more this year. Does he have the potential to be one of the best shortstops in this organization? I think so. He's got 5 more years until he's a free agent. And as long as he's here and as long as Altuve and Bregman are here, I think this golden age of Astros baseball is going to extend through the heavens. Those guys are signed until 2025, so leave it till there as their window to win their next World Series. They've been there twice, but leave that, that window is going to be open, I think, until 2025. And I'm going to leave you guys with this on the baseball segment. Okay, until we get into our standings about the I'm just talking about our Astros segment until we get into the MLB standings overall. I don't hate Correa. I still love Carlos Correa, or I like him. Don't love him anymore. I like him. Because no matter how it looks, he turned down a 5-year, $160 million deal with the Astros with one opt-out. He turned down the opportunity to play with Jose Altuve, his buddies. Altuve, Bregman, Gurriel, and everybody in the outfield to play with Gio Urshela, Gary Sanchez, and Byron Buxton. That's the fact. Correa talks about the facts all the time. You know what? That's the fact. You turned down an opportunity, a legitimate opportunity to win another World Series, to play with some bum squad in Minnesota. So that's the fact. And if you don't like it, then you know what you need to do, Carlos. So that's that. Let's get into some of the MLB standings right now. If we're looking at it by division, I don't know why you would look at it overall or by the league. The ones that truly matter are the ones that are in the division. So let's start off with the American League East. A team that's been completely tearing the cover off the baseball, and that's the New York Yankees. Starting off the season, winning 72% of their games, going 18-7, followed by the Tampa Bay Rays, who are 17-10, who have really turned their game around. They're on a 5-game winning streak. The Toronto Blue Jays, who were pretty much neck and neck with the New York Yankees about a week ago, they are 5-5 in their last 10, and they've fallen into third place, going 16-11 right now. They're 3 games back behind the division lead. The Baltimore Orioles, oh my God, this is so funny. The Baltimore Orioles are 10-16, 8.5 games behind, and in dead last in the division. Once again, I could be offending all of you guys out there, but the American League Championship Series losers are in last place in the American League East, and that's the Boston Dead Sox. Sorry, not sorry, but the Boston Red Sox looking like the Boston Dead Sox out there. 9 games behind the lead, 10-17, winning 37% of their games, and then have been 3-7 in their last 10 games. Lost to the Angels. I needed them to beat the Angels as an Astros fan, so the Astros can go back into go back into the top of the AL West. Red Sox can't hit water if they fell out a friggin' boat. Let's just say that. They're terrible. Minnesota Twins. I knew I was just bashing them a little bit, but this division is so bad. The AL Central, somebody's got to lead that division. Minnesota's been facing against this division all year, so there's no surprise. I'd be surprised if you weren't 16-11 right now. They're at the top of the division. Behind them, a team that doesn't even have a winning record in the Cleveland Guardians. They're 12-13. Followed by the White Sox, who are also 12-13. Followed by the Kansas City Royals, who are 8-15. And then in last place, the AL Central, the Detroit Tigers, 8-17. AL West, it's a pretty tight race for first place, or between first and second place. The Los Angeles Angels, 18-10, have the lead, followed by the Houston Astros in second place, who are 16-11. Angels are 18-10. Astros are just a game and a half behind them. Astros on a 5-game winning streak, who are 8-2 in their last 10. And the Angels are on a 3-game winning streak, who are 7-3 in their last 10 games. The Seattle Mariners, America's team. Apparently what I've been seeing on Twitter, social media. Guess what? America's bum team is 12-15 right now, winning 44% of their games and are 5.5 games behind the division lead. Who were swept by the Astros, by the way, who are 1-9 in their last 10 and are on a 5-game losing streak. They suck. They haven't been relevant since 2001, since the 7th season of Friends. That was the last time these guys made the playoffs. They are a joke. They're terrible. Same with the Texas Rangers, 10-14, winning 42% of their games, 6 games behind the lead. They're actually on a 4-game winning streak, though, so you got to give the Texas Rangers some credit there. 5-5 in their last 10. Oakland Athletics, 10-16. We all knew from the free agency that they were going to be blowing up the team this year. They're in full-blown rebuild mode, so I won't bash the Athletics too much. But they are 10-16, 7 games back on a 7-game losing streak. That's not good, but it was pretty much expected from the entire league. Going into the National League East, how about the New York Mets tearing the cover off the ball? 19-9, overcoming one of the best comebacks we've seen in the modern day. The Philadelphia Phillies had a 7-1 lead 2 nights ago in the top of the 8th. And the Mets come back and win the game 8-7. Wow. 7 runs between the 8th and the 9th inning. Great stuff from them. They're 19-9, winning 68% of their games. Followed by the Miami Marlins with a losing record of 12-14. They're 6 games back behind the lead in that division. The world champion Atlanta Braves, 12-16, and are 7 games back. They're in 3rd place in the National League East. Philadelphia Phillies, 11-15. They are also 7 games back. And the Washington Nationals are 9-19, 10 games back, sitting in dead last in that division. The National League Central, a team that does not get talked about enough. The Milwaukee Brewers, 19-8, winning 70% of their games, who are 9-1 in their last 10 around a 4-game winning streak. They're at the top of the NL Central, followed by the St. Louis Cardinals at 6-10 or 16-10, 3-game winning streak, 7-3 in their last 10 games. The Pittsburgh Pirates are not in dead last. They are in 3rd in that division, 10-14, who have a plus-minus run differential of a -37. They're in 3rd place. The Chicago Cubs, 9-15. They're in 4th. And the Cincinnati Reds, this could be a historically awful organization this year. 3-22 in their first 25 games. 3-22. It takes a miracle to be that bad. 9-game losing streak, 1-9 in their last 10. They have a home record of 1-7 and a road record of 2-15. That's terrible. Wow, they might win 40 games this year with this pace that they're going out. They might win 35. This could be the worst team in Major League Baseball history, dating back to when they were actually taking stats. The National League West, the Los Angeles Dodgers lead that 16-7, followed by the San Diego Padres at 18-9. They have a couple games in hand over the Dodgers. The Colorado Rockies in 3rd with 15-11 record. The San Francisco Giants 14-12. They're in 4th. And the Arizona Diamondbacks 14-13 in 5th. They all have winning records in that division. Now imagine if one of these teams got moved into the American League Central division, then who'd be leading? Probably not the Minnesota Twins. I honestly think that the Colorado Rockies are a better team than what their record shows. Same with the Giants, but the Diamondbacks, their fans should just be happy that they have a winning record right now. I know it's one game over 500, but they have a winning record now. That is what they want to see. And they may have a legitimate shot at going to the postseason this year with Seth Beer, who's very, very underrated in this league. Very, very good player. But, yeah, those are overall standings right there. 25 games. Most teams have played over 25 games this year. But, yeah, some of the games that are going on today, if I can go to it, if it'll let me get there, we'll see. We have Pittsburgh and Cincinnati, 12:35 p.m. The Los Angeles Dodgers and the Chicago Cubs at 1:05 p.m. Yankees and the Rangers. Hopefully this one doesn't get rained out at 1:05 p.m. Twins hosting the Athletics at 2:10. The Cleveland Guardians hosting the Toronto Blue Jays at 2:10. Astros hosting the Tigers at 4:05 p.m. The Phillies hosting the Mets at 4:05 p.m. The Red Sox hosting the White Sox at 4:10 p.m. And apparently we have a doubleheader between the Guardians and the Blue Jays. They play another game at 6:10, as well as the Reds and the Pirates. The Orioles and the Royals face against each other at 7:05. The Giants and the Cardinals at 7:15. Braves and Brewers at 7:20. Cubs and Dodgers again at 7:40. And the Diamondbacks and the Rockies at 8:10. Padres and Marlins at 8:40, and the Angels Nationals at 9:07, and finally the Mariners and the Rays at 9:10. There's a lot of games going on. I think 3 doubleheaders today. So if you're into baseball and you have the MLB Extra Innings package, I definitely watch those games. Once again, you're listening to the Hauer Hour for Radiothon, simulcasting on WCVF 88.9 The Voice and WDVL 89.5 The Inferno, or you're listening to the Radio Line app. We got about 4-5 hours left on this Radiothon, so I'm just killing time right now, talking some baseball and talking some Buffalo Bandits lacrosse. If we want to go to the NFL draft, I really haven't talked about the NFL on this show a lot, but I thought this draft was a little bit wacky. This one took place last week. Jacksonville taking Trayvon Walker first overall, a defensive end out of Georgia. The Lions taking Aiden Hutchinson, defensive end. Derek Stingley Jr. going to the Houston Texans, who's going to be a very good corner in this league. Sauce Gardner going to the Jets. You have Kayvon Thibodeau going to the Giants. And, this was a defensive-heavy draft. And if you guys listen to the show and you've been listening to the show religiously, you would know that I am indeed from Western New York, but I am not a Buffalo Bills fan. I root for a team out in the Midwest area. And the first team I bet that comes to mind when you think of the Midwest is the Chicago Bears. I do not root for the Bears. I root for the poverty Indianapolis Colts, a team that absolutely breaks my heart every single year. Never fails to break my heart. A team that went into Jacksonville, Florida, where the fans were wearing clown costumes. If they win the game, they make the playoffs. Jacksonville, they did not care. They were making vacation plans that day. They didn't care if they went in that game and got blown out or won the game. They came in and stomped. It wasn't even close. Jacksonville won that game 26-11. That was the most soul-crushing. I mean, the New Orleans Saints Super Bowl was crushing. The playoff games against Pittsburgh, New England, those were crushing. There was nothing that was more humbling and soul-crushing than that loss that day in Jacksonville. I believe it was January 9th, 2022. That pretty much just set the stage for me to what to expect in 2022, because it was 9 days after the new year, and that type of game happened. I'm just like, whoa, 2022 might be a bad year. Like, if you believe in, like, luck and juju and stuff like that, that was bad luck right there. But I root for this team. I'm happy they got rid of that idiot loser, Carson Wentz. I hated him with a passion. He is off the team. He's going to suck in Washington, facing against the Philadelphia Eagles twice a year. Good riddance. Goodbye. Nobody cares. See you later. Matt Ryan is coming into the organization, which is good. And this year's draft that the Indianapolis Colts had, I really don't have any problems with it. This team never fails to trade back in the draft, I've noticed. But I really don't mind it, to be completely honest with you. But before we get into the draft, we need to go into some of the offseason signings. Let's talk about one that's major. Matt Ryan getting traded from the Atlanta Falcons to the Indianapolis Colts in exchange for a third-round pick. One of those third-rounders was from the Washington Commanders that they traded to get Carson Wentz. Wentz went to the Commanders in exchange for two third-rounders. That's how much this shovel pass king is worth, apparently. 2 third-rounders, and the Colts used one of those third-round picks to trade for Matt Ryan to Atlanta. They acquired Stephon Gilmore from the Carolina Panthers in free agency, who's going to be wearing number 5. This team needs to stack up on their defensive backs. And what better player to do so than Stephon Gilmore? They tried in the past to add big-name defensive backs like Antonio Cromartie in 2016, and that worked out great. Right? I was being sarcastic. How is he going to remember the defensive playbook if he can't remember his 11 kids' names? Just saying. Antonio Cromartie was a complete joke. They brought him in. We're going to have a quarterback now that will actually use one of the most underrated running back players in the league right now. And I'm talking about Nyheim Hines, a guy who is very shifty, a guy who, when Phillip Rivers was here in 2020, Nyheim Hines was the second receiver on the team with the most yards. The first one was Jack freaking Doyle, who was a tight end. Nyheim Hines was was ranked second in most yards gained from the quarterback. Like yards after catch, all those stats. So he's finally, Matt Ryan uses the check down all the time. I think he's going to be Phillip Rivers 2.0, but he's going to be a better version of Phillip Rivers. Matt Ryan is still a guy that's mobile. Get it to the tight end. He's still a guy that can check it down to the running back. He's a great, great quarterback still, with still something to play for. He's never won a Super Bowl. He's got a young and promising defense. He's got Jonathan Taylor in the backfield. And he's got Michael Pittman Jr. Going into the draft, though, they did draft a ginormous wide receiver who compares to Jordy Nelson, according to ESPN. Alec Pierce, with the 53rd overall pick from Cincinnati, is going to the Colts, and I'm pretty psyched about this one. They have 6'3" Michael Pittman, 6'4" Mike Strawn, 6'2" Desmond Patman. We don't know the status on T.Y. Hilton. Do I even mention Paris Campbell? That dude gets injured celebrating a touchdown, so I shouldn't mention him at all. But now you have 6'7" Alec Pierce. You have Buildings as wide receivers that can absolutely moss receivers. You have Jonathan Taylor in the backfield. You have Nyheim Hines back in the backfield. You have tight ends that can catch the ball and score for touchdowns, which we'll get into in a little bit, like pick number 73, Jelani Woods, tight end out of Virginia. Again, big player. He's going to fill in the role. He's going to fill in the shoes for Jack Doyle, who recently retired. He's going to look good. They also got rid of Eric Fisher, the tight end, or the left tackle that Chris Ballard signed for some reason that just came off an Achilles injury. He is gone. That dude couldn't block anybody to save his life. They picked Bernard Ryman, offensive tackle out of Central Michigan. Got our tackle. That position was depleted ever since what's his name? Anthony Costanzo called it quits and retired. Nick Cross, pick number 96, safety out of Maryland, stacking up on that safety position with Julian Blackman coming back. He might not be 100% after that. I believe it was an Achilles injury. Those are hard to recover from. But once he's back to 100%, you have depth in that position with Nick Cross. Eric Johnson, another defensive tackle. You can't go wrong with a little quarterback pressure. especially with one of the best to ever do it. My God, it's early, guys. I apologize. Robert Mathis leading the defensive end, or one of the main defensive end coaches on this team. Eric Johnson is the man. Andrew Ogletree, another tight end. So right now they have Jelani Woods, Andrew Ogletree, and Kylan Granson. Those are 3 tight ends that can block, 3 tight ends that can get open, 3 tight ends that can score touchdowns. Good stuff. Curtis Brooks, defensive tackle, another Cincinnati pick with pick 216. Once again, you can't go wrong with stopping the run, stacking the box, because the pass rush last season that the Indianapolis Colts were throwing out there was terrible. They were letting Trevor Lawrence stand in that pocket for 8 seconds, no pressure whatsoever. And they have guys on that defensive side like DeForest Buckner and Darius Leonard that could bring the heat. And oh my God, there was just no excuse to why that was so bad last year. And then Rodney Hudson, the second, a center out of Yale, was picked in the 7th round. Okay. This was, fun fact, the first ever Ivy League pick in Indianapolis Colts history. It came in the 7th round at pick 239. Rodney Hudson, the second, center out of Yale University. And right below here gives you some of the offseason moves that the Colts made. Sending Wentz to Washington, acquiring Matt Ryan, not trading into the first round. They would have had a first round pick this year if they didn't trade Carson Wentz for the first round pick. Obviously, Philly took it and used that first round pick to trade for A.J. Brown. So he's out of the AFC South, out of Tennessee, going to Philadelphia. So if you think about it, the Colts got absolutely hoodwinked, scallywagged, whatever you want to say, robbed by the Philadelphia Eagles for Carson Wentz. The Eagles virtually, indirectly traded Carson Wentz for A.J. Brown. And still to this day, you have Colts fans saying, well, we didn't give Carson Wentz a fair shake, so we still won the trade. You can't even say that. Carson Wentz was a quarterback that threw interceptions, pick sixes at his own goal line, throwing shovel passes, throwing interceptions, fumbling the ball. He's gone. So it's good that they have Matt Ryan right now. It's fantastic to see who they drafted this year. Alec Pierce is going to be a beast, and I can't wait to see it. September can't come here soon enough. So I think that's enough out of me. We're going to have our 8 o'clock show in a little bit, but you've been listening to the Hauer Hour on Radiothon, 88.9 The Voice, WCVF, 89.5 WDVL, The Inferno, listening on the Radio Line app. We will see you on Monday for our last live show of the semester. So take care, guys.